Today I'll be showing a close-up look of my top 10 rare and unusual pistol lighters, some of which may be the last of their kind. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and also join my notification squad, which is basically you'll get a notification every time I upload a new video. So leave a comment below on other types of reviews or gadgets that you want me to show and tell. And also, what's your favorite type of collection? Do you have a collection of items of your own? Now first, we have probably the most recently released and modern, because it's actually a case that's been 3D printed. And the file is on Thingiverse. I'll put a link in the description. I actually had to scale this because it's supposed to actually fit Bic lighters, but I really like the one that I have installed right now because there's this unique functionality. First of all, it's piezoelectric, so you use like a little spark, and you can sort of move this forward and give you a little bit extra reach, and then tilt it up, and really at any angle for that matter. So I thought that this would be neat to integrate some sort of rocket launcher, because if I built it to where I could basically reverse engineer this but make it my own version where the actual lighting portion mechanism works with the trigger, I probably would need some sort of sliding mechanism, and I don't think that it'd be terribly difficult. It may take a little bit of time, and so I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it's a pretty cool little addition. Although, for today's standards, it's a little bit freaky, like going up to someone and being, hey, you need a light? And you take this thing out and you're like, I mean, this looks like an actual gun. Even if you had it just sticking out of your pocket, it's pretty small and slim, but there's definitely pistols out there that are this size, like a Derringer or whatever. So, pretty neat. And the company is Flint. Only thing is, it's not refillable. Now, there is an adjustment on the side here, so you can actually raise and lower the flame. So that's a nice feature to always have. But other than that, it's still just a standard lighter, and I really think it's pretty awesome, especially whenever it opens up the doors for all sorts of different types of lighter cases whenever you combine it with 3D printing. Now these pistol lighters are the same, but they have some interesting characteristics and upgrades, if you want to call it that. Now this little thing here, I was surprised. You swivel this up and down to change the different types of flame. So whenever you actually have it down, you pull this back here, a little firing hammer, and you have a soft flame. Whenever you toggle it up, you have a really awesome jet flame that burns red. Now the only downside to this is the quality is really subpar. I think of it as the older brother who has some serious potential but doesn't apply himself or shower, because like the handle here is meant to look like wood. It's just half-assed. You have these little tabs here that are still in there. The paint has like boogers in it because it was just like very crudely put on there, and you can just very easily tell that not very much effort went into the quality of this. But you do have some really interesting qualities, like the two different types of flames. I think that's incredible. I just really wish the manufacturer would have spent a little bit more money working on the materials and a little bit less on trying to fake what you actually would want. I mean, if it was the same quality as this, which goes for $40, I'd probably pay at least $20, because you're considering the fact that you're not using as much raw material, metal, and stuff like that. If you're watching this, step up your game and you may have a few new customers coming your way. Next, I have the Imco Gunlite G66 R. Now, I've done a review on this, but I didn't have the box before. I don't know what the phenomenon is about collecting things, but once you get into it, you get really, really nitpicky. You want like the first edition, you want the box to be in nice presentation condition. You know, I didn't realize that I was that into it until I started really collecting like that. Now, I will hold it to the fact that I only want it in black and silver. I wouldn't go to the fact where I want like every single color under the sun. So at least I'm saving myself on that aspect. But there's actually some interesting differences The reason I like the box is because there's diagrams and history, and I think it's really cool, and I'll show you guys that in a second. So first, I'm just going to go over the main features. I've done a review on this, but just for the guys that are new, not everyone goes back and sees the old videos. So the main difference is that this little valve here holds the fuel. It's made out of aluminum. You can see it's refillable from that little gas refill nozzle portion, and you can adjust it by turning, and you pull the trigger. There you go. Very nice. I love the slimline handle. Nice fits in your pocket. Very ergonomic. One of my definite favorites. Now, the difference here is we have very similar features, except this is clear. Now that's so much more useful because now you can actually see how much fuel you have left instead of just sort of guessing, but you can see it's not clear like the original one. I don't know if that's easy to see or not, but you can see the original has the silver and the clear, and this one's more of an opaque look. So it's kind of interesting that they made that choice, which leads me to believe that maybe this was a later model, and so maybe this wasn't from the 1960s as my research shows. Maybe it was like later 1960s, but this is still pretty old. So here you can see it says in Austrian, which I guess is German, or maybe they just speak Austrian in Austria. I'm not exactly sure, but it looks pretty German to me. It might just be that region. So you can see the diagrams explaining how the refill valve works, and it's unit V, so maybe that's like what they're trying to show, the difference in the valves. Also it shows on the side some different like warnings. So this one's in English. I wonder if this was shipped at all to the US, and then this one is in Austrian or German. I should know that off the top of my head. I realize this and I'll just probably research it right after, but I mean, you guys aren't here for a history lesson. I think those are just kind of cool. So there you go. I think this is a pretty nice and unique lighter we have here. What kind of collections do you have? So this is actually the precursor to what I showed you earlier, the Gunlite. This is the original Gunlite by Imco. Really, really awesome company, and you can see they even have the seal on their box. This thing's in pretty good condition, which means I paid a pretty little penny for it. Now if we start taking this thing apart, you can see it's made up in a couple different sections. You have the little directions that say don't light yourself on fire, one flint only. But yeah, this is a really cool little design. Like I said, when you get into like collecting things, you always want like all the little nitpicky details. This is cool because it's actually painted on the side, and it's not just like the accenting of the light. And the handle here made out of a nice plastic with like a little bit of a pistol grip to it. Now I've already filled this with fuel, so it's ready to go. Pull the trigger and you have your light. Now the cool thing about this, and they even advertise it on the box here on the back, is you can use it to light your pipe. The little thing here is removable and you can still light it, and pretty neat. This is actually embossed on there, so you can actually feel it. It's pretty neat. I think that's awesome attention to detail. It just goes to show they don't make them like they used to. Everything's a bic and crack lighter nowadays. So right here you have this little sliding mechanism. That is where you put the flint, that little chute there, and then there's a spring that you sort of slide forward. That spring is really important, and I'm telling you that for a reason. I actually have this one here, same, but that's broken on this. You can see it doesn't spring forward whenever I open up this lock, which means this one doesn't spark anymore. But I still like the color black a little bit more than this white one, and it would still go with the accenting we have here. There we go. And it's cool because you can actually just set it down on the table. Also, pay attention to details. I have a little crosshair in the back here. Really nice. Very good quality. You rock, Austria. Just saying. In the lighter department, you're the king. Now here we have pretty much clones of the same lighter by different brands. This is a pistol jet lighter. On the right we have one by a company called IOMI. The only difference is there's a different logo, and on the bottom you can see it says A OMAI. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it looks like it was probably made in China. And on here it says IMI smoking set. It feels like metal, but sometimes it's just like a plated with like a chrome or something. And you can see that that actually comes off. So they're probably all using the same exact molding, and they're all just casted out of metal, and then they just change out the plates. Now, interesting about this one, it's a little bit more secure, and I think the quality of this one might be the original. I don't know for sure. I don't care to do the research because it's just, you know, it serves its function. What more could you want? So this one's the Legend X, which I think has a cooler sound to it, and it has an eagle on it, the grip, and those are on there a little bit more secure. You don't hear that clicking noise. I like using these whenever I'm doing solder work for different projects because it allows me to basically use it like a heat gun. I just use the sort of sights of this, I guess you could kind of imagine them on there, to direct heat towards heat shrink tubing and anything else like that. Whereas a soft light like the one here, you really can't get any accuracy out of that flame, and it can sometimes cause problems and charring. So I feel like with the jet lighter you have a little bit more control, and you also have like a stylish look to it. So I think all around it's a pretty good product, definitely not on the higher quality scale. Now this next one must be pretty rare because I wasn't able to find any research, not even Google search images was bringing up anything like this. It's a piezo Spark 22 Hi-Piezo, which is just a little spark igniter that has a crystal and it basically creates a little shock. That used to be like a luxury. It's pretty crazy. Now that's like available with dollar store lighters. Nothing inside the box as far as aesthetics go. You have some instructions here, shows it how it works, and you notice here this little screw portion. This was giving me some issues on the back. It's basically saying don't light yourself on fire. I think I've done that plenty of times, so I'll be alright. And here we have the lighter. Pretty cool. This thing is like a paperweight. It's got a lot of mass to it. That's probably why they were discontinued. I don't know. They must have put like a rock in here. I almost want to take this apart. Maybe I'll do that some other time. Has to be something else, like a big block of lead. This thing just feels so meaty. I actually put that O-ring in there myself because this thing was leaking all over the place, and it was not very safe, to say the least. There's a little valve here that you can adjust and put it all the way down for our flamethrower setting. Pretty nice, powerful flame there, giving off some nice musty smoke. I like this one. Really, really unique. Haven't seen anything else like it. Picked that up on an auction site, and it's probably one of a kind at this point. Not exactly sure. If you have anything similar to this and you have any more information, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Next, we have a Japanese lighter called Atlas. It's butane based, so I really like this one. You don't have to worry about the smelly chemicals and the corrosiveness of like the lighter fluid. And this is for John or Charlie. So pretty sure this thing is not for me. That's not my name. So it might be cursed. Just weird shit happens whenever I'm using this thing. I don't know why. And it has kind of like a weird, morbid look to it. It looks like it's been through some stuff. It's from, I think, occupied Japan, but I'm not exactly sure on that. Let's go ahead and open up the box. Nothing fancy. And it just reminds me of like a vampire. Like the satin and like a felt. It's really weird. Yeah. So the spark still works, which is nice. John or Charlie. John or Charlie. John or Charlie only. Yeah, but honestly, this thing's cursed. I'll show you why. Maybe not. Go ahead and fill this thing up. Yeah, it seems like it's working. And you pull the trigger. Oh! Oh my god! It like burnt. It literally singed my hair. Like I told you, this thing Like it was working and then it was like, not John or Charlie. And then it just self-destructed. Now it knows we're onto us. It's not going to work, of course. Oh! Yeah. I shouldn't be laughing about that, but like, the type of stuff that I'm always messing around with, something always goes wrong. I'm so like, yeah, jaded, very much. Alright, get out of here. Next we have one of the coolest in my collection because actually it's petrol based, but it's like a clip, like an actual gun that goes up into the handle of the pistol grip. And this is also a Romanian lighter, so you can see the seal of the company. That's what it looks like there, at least. It's the Econ Fagaras Pistolet, and like I said, it's Romanian. Don't call it Russian, otherwise somebody in the comment section might bite your head off, because I guess there's still some like issues there. I mean, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but like, somebody literally was like real pissed off that I called it Russian at some point, and I changed it. It's not Russian, but it's from the 1960s, so it was like still around the time of the USSR. You know, so maybe there were some issues going on there. Yeah, somebody's not over it yet. Now, I have shown this one on my channel as well, but I didn't have the box, and I think that's worth noting as well. I mean, people sometimes just buy stuff because you're getting the box. It even says made in Romania. I have no idea what that says, but it doesn't say anything about fire because I don't see any pictures. But yeah, this is really cool. Never ever been used, so that's awesome. This is where you would put the fuel, and if you want to check out how this works, I kind of want to save this one. I don't want to use it. This was a little bit pricey, so if you want to see how this works, I'll put a link in a playlist to my other lighter videos. But this one's really cool, and I love the attention to details. I just love brushed and polished chrome. I think it's really cool. Lovely. Romanian, not Russian. So here we have one of my definite favorites. I have shown this on my channel before. It's the Aurora pistol lighter. You can see very retro. It's actually from the 1950s. Now these go for about $40. You have to go to like auction sites. Someone buys an estate, they go through the drawers and they find all of Grandpa's old lighters and collections that have just been frozen in time. This one is really cool because it has a safety built into it. That was actually already on, so that's good. Safety, and there's the light. It's kind of like spring powered. And actually there's a flashlight built into this, which would have been a really big deal back in the day considering flashlights and stuff like that. I'm sure a lot of that stuff was still pretty expensive. I don't know, maybe I'm naive, but that's over 60 years ago. Even more so, almost 70. We're in 2017, like it's almost 70 years. So it's pretty ridiculous. It does fuel off of like a Zippo fluid. You unscrew this cap here and it fills up this with fuel. There's like cotton in there. This is for your spring and your flint, and it's basically spring loaded, so every time you push it back down it resets this little ratcheting mechanism that turns the spark wheel and you get your light. We have two of these batteries. Now I had to buy these specifically. I ended up buying another one because the little bulb here is actually discontinued. Like you really can't find it anymore. So I had to buy a whole new one. I guess everyone has their weird things. You know, people buy stuff that they're obsessed with, and I really like lighters because nowadays it's like a completely forgotten art form. Everything's Bic or Zippo or cheapy crack lighters that everyone does these like life hacks with and lighter hacks, and those are cool, but still can't forget the technology that used to be pretty innovative for its time. Now last we have the most modern lighter. This is a plasma lighter. It's the Trigger edition from Plasmatic. I did a review of this, but I had to add it to my top 10. Now this one, I'm not crazy about the design, especially when you compare it to things like the Auroras. Everything about this has a functionality, as I've shown you. This is just kind of gimmicky. Basically, they were trying to just get people to buy something. This thing was really expensive, and I had it sent to me for free to do a review. I would have never paid full price for this thing if I'm being honest, but it is pretty cool. It's got some nice weight to it. Pros and cons, I guess you have the health benefits if you're a smoker, but I don't smoke cigarettes. I pretty much have lighters because of the collection. I like that aspect to it, and I use lighters for like heating up different elements. Like if you were doing something with heat shrink tubing, you need an open flame or a heat source. If I wanted to use this spark gap for something, I could just extend these wires, so there's functionality in that as a component for a larger build. These little switches and everything else that looks like it should be moving or have functionality is just kind of a gimmick for a bigger price point, essentially. And I'm pretty sure that they have discontinued this one, so they're just down to the normal plasmatic lighters, which I think was a smarter move on their end. But what do you think about these types of lighters? It seems like people are getting really excited about them. There's health benefits, but I'm not crazy about it. Am I in the wrong? Do I have my own opinion? Yes, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. Now, last and certainly not least, probably the rarest thing that I have is the bullet firing lighter and pistol pack for Special Agent 707. And it's so brand new. Oh, no, it's actually from 1966. So it's a miracle this thing actually exists. And the fact that nobody swallowed these things because, like, it's definitely lead paint. I have no doubt that's lead paint. And I'm going to open it up. There's nothing on the back. It's just kind of cardboardy. But this thing's so cool. And I was fidgeting with it so many times that the paint's actually kind of like eroding away. It's just like new. What would that be, 51 years ago? I can do math. So yeah, this thing is really cool. And here's what it looks like up close. Comes in a nice little Redbox box. I just love this. It's so fun. I just can imagine so many children shooting each other with these things. The way that you load it, you have these little bullets and kind of gets caught on there. You can see how it's supposed to work. Alright, let's go ahead and shoot this thing. Got a little bullet lined up. Basically just press it in there and there's a little latch. I actually had some decent power. I mean, wow. Except the bullet flew God knows where. Actually, holy crap. It's a miracle. Let's try it from a little bit farther back and see if it still has as much power. I actually had to replace this spring because I kept getting jammed. This is actually a vast improvement. To manually press it. Wow. Still. This is actually a lot of fun. I would want to make more launchers like this. But I feel like there's so many like pen guns out there on the internet that it wouldn't even be worth my time, you know? I mean, I feel like you guys don't really like 3D printed things because I feel like the majority of you don't have access to it. But it's such an amazing technology. You have no idea how lucky you are. If you're a kid and you're watching this right now, if I had a 3D printer when I first started out, I'd be like on a whole nother level. But yeah, you can see the lead paint. Every time I put this thing in, it gets smeared off a little bit. Now, I want to know what your top 3 favorite are from my collection. Leave a comment below and say why. My favorite would have to be the Auroras, because I really like the integration of the light bulb. I think that was really innovative for its time, especially since this is probably before butane was being integrated into these things. Later on they had a version that did have butane, but this is still pretty advanced for its time. And it's just kind of cool to think like, people used to be like, oh, I need a flashlight, when nowadays we just have our phones or, you know, an LED keychain. This actually runs off of a real light bulb, so it's pretty ridiculous. Now, what we have here is the most original, the pistol lighter, and also I want to kind of make one myself. I think that'd be a lot of fun, but I don't know if you guys like the 3D printing, but I really would recommend you get into it because you can build anything that you can imagine. Just think of the possibilities whenever you learn how to actually use the software to design it, which there's a lot of free ones out there. And my last favorite is probably the Gunlite G66 because it's innovative in the fact that it has an integration with butane fuel but a spark wheel for the ignition source. and I really like that it has a clear fuselage with this newer one, and I just kind of like the way it feels in my hand. I think it's really comfortable. I think they did a really nice job with that design. So thank you so much for watching. Stay creative and take it easy.
Where is it written that all our dreams must be small?